We're on? Okay. Well, thank you. Welcome today. So, today is Father's Day, right? Also Juneteenth, um, celebration of emancipation. Uh, in Texas, that's where I learned about Juneteenth when I was a teenager living with my uncle who lives in Burleson, Texas, outside of Fort Worth. He, I just along came Juneteenth, and it was like all this holiday around and everything, and people had the day off, and I'm like, never heard of it, you know. But that's also what today is. But I'm going to concentrate on Father's Day. I actually claimed this day for a Dharma talk some time ago. So not that I'm going to deliver anything too earth-shattering, but I just wanted to take the opportunity. So. I'm going to tell you the story of my dad, basically. Now, the story of my dad is basically somebody who really last saw when I was 6 years old. You know? So I'm 65 soon to be 65. And that was traumatic, to say the least, you know. And when I say that, it was because of divorce. And so my mom and dad split up at age 6. I had a baby brother, basically just born, Aaron. He's 6 years younger than me. And he left us, went back home to Illinois. We were living in Southern California at the time. And one of my lingering memories, and I don't have a lot of memories from childhood other than not so good ones, you know. This isn't a big sob story either, okay? It's just my story. And emphasis on story, you know, because in this very moment, what do you have? You have stories of things, you know. You don't have the actual thing happening. You have stories of those things happening. And, whatever content, whatever pattern that you've committed to interpret in terms of interpreting those stories, whatever you've done in your mind to identify with those stories, that's what you have right now. So one of the lingering memories I have is the three of us, my mom, my brother, and I, accompanying Dad to the train station, and him with his suitcase. It's like something out of a movie, one of these, melodramatic movies from the 60s. I don't know, that's when it happened, in the 60s. So him, all 6'2" of him in his suitcase, climbing up onto the train, and I don't remember him turning around and waving or anything. He just like walked on, got on the train, and off he went. And so that's what I recall. Another memory that I have, though, was kind of a screwy memory in a way, was he learned to drive later in life. And I remember him teaching me how to drive at age like 5, I guess it was, or something like that. Put me on his lap. We were probably in a parking lot or something, some sort of semi-safe space, and had me on his lap and he said, just, you want to turn right? You got to go like this, son, and do this, And he was controlling the brakes and gas and such. So I remember that, and I also remember thinking, is this a good idea? Should we be doing this? And I distinctly remember him saying, "Don't tell mom." So those are the kinds of memories that I have. So we were the three of us now, just a one-parent family, just my mom and the two brother and I, and growing up in that kind of an environment. And it was turmoil. In my case, it was turmoil. It doesn't have to be that way for anybody, really. I mean, but that's what I think of it as turmoil, because we moved around a ton, all over Southern California, basically. And I ended up attending 13 different grammar schools before finally putting my foot down in high school and saying, we did move again in high school, and I was bound to go to another school after that. I said, you know what? No, I'm going to go to Washington High and graduate from Washington High, and that's it. And we even moved again before that was things were done in Washington High. I might have ended up at another school, who knows? But I did get my way in. I attended all 4 years there. And that was sort of the beginning of me making my attempt to undo some familial karma, if you will, what I consider it to be. And there's, another thing with that is, making this commitment to do things in a way that didn't follow what I considered to be the negatives in life. And in reality, I'm probably just following my own nature anyway. I didn't want to move around and whatnot. So I wanted to stay put. And I see that more so in my adulthood. A lot of I have family members that like to move around. My brother is itinerant. He is an English teacher online, and he goes from country to country because he can do whatever he wants and doesn't have to live in a certain spot. Forget where he is. He's in Montenegro or something right now. And so that was just me. And during this period of time, I had multiple men coming into our lives, my life, that were either potential stepfathers, or my mom did get married and they were a stepfather. And I know that she was trying to fill that void to some degree, trying to find that answer. And to me, thinking back, that was fine and dandy, but I didn't want a father. I wanted my father. I think that's what any child really wants. They want, unless that biological father is a jerk, you want that father, you want that parent. And I recall one time we were living, my mom was real sick. She was in the hospital with pneumonia for a number of weeks, actually. And digging through some of our belongings, we were staying with her boyfriend's family at the time. And we had our boxes, our belongings in the garage, and I was fumbling through and looking at things, just keeping busy. And I found a postcard from my dad, and in that postcard, he's, said, "I love you, son, I'll keep in touch, The only problem was this was age 8, after having not seen him, since his leaving at 6. And the next time I heard anything about Dad at that point, from that point on, was at age 15, when I learned that he had died in a head-on collision, and that he had gone back into the service and was basically a career soldier. And it's just crazy, There wasn't a lot of emotion attached to learning about that. I was just, it was, just my story of Dad. That was it. And then the other different traumatic events involving other men in my life and whatnot. Now, at some point, of course, I grew up. I went to college, did my thing there, found a woman, got married. We had a child. I had my son, and it was just, we all know. I mean, if you've had children, I can only imagine, what your experience was. I know mine was like freaking amazing. This is something, this little bit of me, no longer, bound in my skin, but out there in the world, And Taylor was born, and he's been, an amazing person to know and to watch grow up and to see what he's doing today and to be part of him and be part of his life and have him be part of mine. And my commitment to him, in my mind, he's going to go to one school, And are these the right answers to this problem that I was experiencing? I don't know, Maybe he would have benefited by going to other schools, But he went to one school, within one school system, Clausen schools, went to Kenwood and went to Clausen High and junior high, or Clausen Middle School. And my other commitment was he would have one dad his whole life, and that was going to be me, barring, events, So I was his dad. I'm still dad to him, and I take pride in that, I undid that knot. I untied that knot in his life, the potential for him to have gone through what I went through. Now, what do we do with our conditions? So if you've grown up in a single-family home, maybe you came up with your formula, with my formula: one dad, one school, one house, just staying put. Or maybe you would be this, say, well, we moved around a lot, so heck, that's what I do. We move around a lot, That's what I don't know anything different. If you grow up in a violent home, this is often what people are, what we're told. Of course I beat my kids because that's what I learned. That's what you do. That's how I was brought up. I can't help it. That's my inclination is to do that. And if you grow up around drinkers, you say, of course I'm an alcoholic. Look at what I was brought up in. But you could also be like, of course I don't beat my kids. I don't want them to go through the kind of stuff that I had to go through. Of course I don't drink. My parents were alcoholics. That was terrible. I don't want to have, my children or me I don't want to be part of that. So it's either way isn't wrong or right. It's just you have choices in a sense. So that was my formula, my way of untying this karmic knot. Now, and I looked through this morass, this what is probably me living with PTSD and not knowing it, But I look through this, and I think, where's the Dharma in this? Where's the Dharma? And so I want to read you a little super duper short poem out of this little book here. Okay, it's just like a coffee table book, really. So it's a Zen Father's poem, Zen Father's Day poem. The green mountains father white clouds. White clouds are the children of mountains. White clouds hang around all day. Mostly the mountain doesn't mind. To me, that was a joke. It's like the kids around all freaking day. I don't mind, I guess. So mostly the mountain doesn't mind. There are times maybe you do mind, Now, so everybody's born, and everybody has parents. But for how long and to what end, and to what effect in your life? So in researching all this, I found different Theravada texts, and Pali texts and whatnot that could pertain to being a parent, being a father, and such. But I thought, in really looking at things, the one thing that really gives us a way to deal with life and to deal with what's going on are the Five Remembrances. Excuse me. So Are we, some of us, familiar with what that is, the Five Remembrances? It's just part of, I can't remember the name of the sutta, Upanijata Jhana Sutta, something of that nature. But in any case, it's something that to be recited by clergy, bhikkhunis, bhikkhus, by householders, men or women. You know, it's not designed to be just for the noble ones, the monks and such. So let's put our hands in Hapjang. I'll recite the Five Remembrances that are in the book that we clergy are given when we ordain and such. So, I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. And lastly, my past and present actions are my only heritage, my only cause for being, my only kin, and my only protection. Whatever actions I do, good or bad, I shall become their heir. And so ends the Five Remembrances. And so you recite these to yourself every day, and to the ethers, the universe. It's number 4 and 5 that give me some breathing room in terms of dealing with this whole fatherhood things, how to manage the despair. There's a line in A Christmas Story, where, I don't know if you know, what's the kid's name again? The kid in A Christmas Story. Ralphie, yeah. I was thinking Rocky or Robbie, and no, it's not Ralphie. He's got glasses on, and he's got his walking cane, and his parents are saying, what led you to this lowly state? Soap. He had been told by his parents to wash his mouth out with soap too often, and he became blind in his older years. And and I think, what led you to this lowly state? So how do you deal with being in this lowly state of somebody who grew up without a father? The drama that goes along with that. I'd say it's number 4 and number 5 of the Five Remembrances, and it's not. To me, it's utter compassion, somebody telling you the truth. This is how it is. It's not personal. It's just, this is how things are. All that is dear to you and everyone you love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. You may be separated at birth. Kids go up for adoption. Parents die in childbirth. Who knows? Or it can happen later in life, that you're separated. But at some point you will be separated from them, your parents, and everyone else for that matter. And then number 5, my past and present actions, your past and present actions are your only heritage, the only cause for your being. They're your only real kin. They're your only protection. So whatever actions, good or bad, I shall become their heir. You shall become their heir. So whatever you cultivate in terms of actions, whether it's good cultivation or bad cultivation, that's what can give you peace or contribute to your pain and dukkha, your suffering. So therein lies how we can manage this despair, So what we think, say, and do determine whether we live at peace or not, And one way that there's a my reminder to me about this think, saying, and doing thing. When I bow, I do this little way of causing me to remember things. It's a mind, body, and speech. Everything that I do is generated here, is acted out, is spoken. So mind, body, and speech. Mind those things. Be aware of those three elements of you. Now, I haven't settled on how to deal with this whole traumatic growing up without a father thing. I know in dealing with this, in going over and studying and researching, this Dharma talk and how to present it and stuff, I've unearthed things. I've got a lot to work on. And I can spend, the last years of my life in working on that, and I most likely will. I don't want to pretend that it's not there. I don't want to pretend that it's not real. The Five Remembrances are a way of saying, don't turn away. Look at life. Look at these things. Don't turn away from them. You're going to grow old. You're going to get sick. And one day it's going to be real sick. And, at some point you will have to experience death. And at that point, all these things that you have attached to, all these, you're going to let go. You're going to become completely free of all this stuff. So, in my, in looking at, in my professional field of, being a nurse and dealing with death and dying in that experience, I've come to see, when people die, it's just this complete letting go. They're just, the body lets go, the mind has to let go. Everything is just given back in a way. So the other way that you can work on this stuff is to recall your meditation, whatever it is that you do in meditation. If it's breathing focused, which is what I do, all you have is this in-breath and out-breath. From birth to death, that's it. In-breath, out-breath. And so you look at this in-breath and out-breath and focus on that, despite whatever trauma and things and thoughts that you're thinking, you realize the cloud-like nature of your thinking, of your thoughts, right? Things come, they go away, just like clouds. Although for that mountain, those clouds hang around all freaking day long, That's the way it is in China in the mountains. Those clouds are always there. So, but they're always changing too. So, if you can, how you weather this storm in your mind, and you realize, that there's this cloud-like nature of your thoughts, even these bad thoughts, even these traumatic thoughts that somehow make you relive your trauma. It's still coming and going. It's coming and going, just like breath. So you settle on that. You say, there's the Five Remembrances. There's also, focusing, just focusing. So I want to end with another poem from this book. I didn't work really hard, just one poem's on this page and the other poem's right on the next page. So hey, so clouds appear free of care, and carefree they drift away. But the carefree mind is not to be found in quotes. To find it, first stop looking around. So, thank you.